Hi everybody, Radical Gardener. I'll tell you, if there's good lighting somewhere in this house, I have no idea where that might be. Sometimes I think I should just wait until it's dark and use a flashlight. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two kind of different things today. This goes for if you're a friend, not just if you're a practitioner or, if you're a friend, practitioner, neighbor, whatever. One of the things that we learn along the way, or maybe it's that it's important we learn along the way, is that we don't know what is best for other people. So let me expound on that a little bit. If you're a parent with a child, it's definitely your duty to rear your child and to guide them and, tell them what's best for them. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about adults that, whether they're in a work capacity, healing capacity, or friend capacity, there's some rules. And one of those rules is to never tell people what they need to do. It's kind of a pet peeve for me, and especially when it's coming from practitioners. But, even friends. Now, if you ask for someone's advice and they give you advice, that's okay. That's really different. But when someone comes along and, so for example, I'll give you an example. I was coaching someone as a voice student, and they had just seen a Reiki master. And so this Reiki person told them, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I said, whoa, stop right there. I said, how does she know what you need to do? Does she know what you have chosen to have as your experience here on the planet? Has the collective consciousness, Minky, no. See, as soon as I start talking, Minky, no. Come on over here. Come on. She was just sitting here really quiet. Where was I? How do people know what you're here to experience? How do they know what you as an individual in spirit chose to be your experience in this lifetime, and or what the collective has decided that we are here to learn for our experience? So this, you need to, it's really, it rattles my cage, I must say. So anyway, so I was on a Facebook discussion. You can always get triggered on those. Mickey, stop it. Mickey, no. The cats are teasing her. And I was stating that I thought it would be responsible if, when we are using our cubes or our EESystems, that we let people know that are next to us in the next room or are in a building next door, because the scalar waves actually permeate the walls. And these people could detox, and they may not know that they're detoxing, and they might feel really crummy, or, and I understand them, because this is their go-to, is well, you're putting out good things for the planet. Okay, I get that. I really get that. However, if someone is detoxing and they don't know they're detoxing, how can they really deal with that. I mean, to me, it's such an infringement on someone's personal space. Well, I can't even see why there's a debate there, but that's me. And again, the debate it's just a debate, and no reason for anybody to get upset, though people were getting upset, is that, come on, I mean, just tell them, knock on the door, say, we've got this healing device here. You might detox a little, just letting you know if you feel crummy, maybe you should, soak your feet, maybe those people say, oh no, I don't want to be next to that. I mean, whatever it is, I think we should have a dialogue with them. And one of the comebacks was, well, they put, 5G out there, don't tell anybody. I go, what? So if they do it, then it's okay that we do it? I mean, it's just, so what they do, which is entirely wrong, so we should do it. And that's not entirely wrong. We're not asking permission. I mean, it's got to be one or the other. It can't be you've decided that it's good for everybody, and so there it is, just good for everybody. And I know this is an issue because I detox from it. I detoxed really heavy from it yesterday. I was around it for 6 hours. It's a long time for me. That my system's really sensitive. So, yeah. So then a gal piped in on this list, and she said, you need to get over this. God. So I sat for about 15 minutes before I responded, because my response, what I really wanted to be, I mean, the gut, the knee-jerk, the reaction is like, fuck off. How do you know what I need to do? But I just sat with it and said, okie dokie, I'll get over it. I don't need to be right. But that, that got me thinking about, how often I hear us tell each other what we need to do. So, maybe next time someone tells you what you need to do, you might tell them that they have no idea they have no idea what you need. And again, unless you've asked them their advice, how dare them, right? So there's that. Not a big deal, but something I just wanted to touch on. And I'm very careful as a practitioner, very careful what I say. If somebody says, well, should I take this and this? I go, well, I took it for a while, it didn't work for me, or, I've never thought it was a good idea, but it might be different for you. I mean, that's how I just run everything by as a personal experience, and, either, it did work for me or didn't work for me. The things that I'm really sure about that work for me, I'm very passionate about, and I share that, but it might not work for them. So there you go. All right. So today, one of our favorite clients came in, and she's had a stroke, and she is just doing great. And it's a slow process, but she's really healing. But what's been really remarkable is how deep the healing is. I mean, and the scalar waves do deal with DNA and what have you. And so, and she sees it too. That's what's so great about it, that it's not just us. There's a little mark here on my thing. It's not just us. It's like she sees what's going on with her own personality. And she's really changing. And I mean, she's lighter and not victimized, and it doesn't have the grief, and kinder, and just these really turning. She's always been a lovely person, but really morphing into this lovely person. And so today she was telling me that during the holidays, and her family, who she's not close to, and she wasn't really looking forward to spending time with them, that they were just wonderful over the holidays. I mean, one of them drove 6 hours to pick her up, and a sister she didn't usually get along with was really, really kind to her. And she said, and it wasn't that it was, oh, poor you had a stroke. It was that they were like felt fundamentally changed, right? And so I started to think about it, and she agreed that it's a possibility. And because I've been doing all this ancestral work in meditation and connection and bringing ancestors through, and that has to deal with the morphogenic field, because they don't really go anywhere. They're all just right here and really just waiting for you to pay attention to them. So I said, I wonder, and Diane thought it was interesting too. I said, I wonder if the scalar wave that's changing your DNA is affecting the morphogenic field for the familial, for the family, their DNA, which is in this field with her. It's connected to her. And then later, and she thought, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. And then these are the kind of conversations you have when you're around these kind of technologies. You attract really smart clients, and you connect with really smart practitioners. It's just a different level. So, and then I talked to Dr. Snell later on. I came home and called her and asked her what she thought. And she said, yeah, I mean, she says it's a great theory. And she said, but it just could be, which is also fabulous, is that that her energy, herself, was emitting this new information, which was really affecting them. And it doesn't mean they have to be in the room. It's affecting them. So what we're saying is like, it's pretty close to what we're saying. Gretchen's got a different bent on it than I do, but we're kind of saying the same thing. But there's definitely this effect that's happening, right? So most of you know, when we're talking about like quantum fields or morphogenic fields, it's the famous, hundredth monkey thing, like, the monkey that picks up a potato and decides they're on an island, and it's a secluded island, and he washes the potato in salt water and sees that it tastes much better. And then the other monkeys begin to mimic that monkey, and then they when it hits about the 100th monkey, monkeys on another island begin to do it. So it's putting information into the field, the space, and into the quantum, and so it's being picked up, right? Which is why every thought we have should be treated with or not treated with have an understanding that it doesn't just stop with you, right? So every thought we have, every action we make is getting locked into the quantum. But then I remembered something. Okay, so I did a YouTube video on this maybe a couple of years ago on Guido Ebner. Now, Guido Ebner did this, what's called the primeval code, and I think we're all talking about the same thing. Primeval code reactivated, living archetypes of plants and animals created at the laboratory. But get a load of this. In laboratory experiments, the researchers, Dr. Guido Ebner and Heinz Schurich, exposed cereal seeds and fish eggs to an electrostatic field. Is that a scalar field? What is that field? Okay, so this was written, well, I don't know when it's written. I pulled it down in 2019, but he did this work quite some time back. Maybe it'll tell us. All right, so continuing. In other words, to a high voltage field in which no current flows. Is that scalar? Unexpectedly, primeval organisms grew out of these seeds and eggs. Primeval. A fern that no botanist was able to identify, primeval corn with up to 12 ears per stalk, wheat that was ready to be harvested in just 4 to 6 weeks, and giant trout extinct in Europe for 130 years with so-called salmon hooks. It was as if these organisms accessed their own genetic memories on command in the electric field. Okay. The Swiss pharmaceutical group patented the process and then stopped the research in 1992. Okay, so they were doing this in the 80s. Why? The discovery was soon forgotten without the global scientific community taking any notice, but this changed. In collaboration, stop it, Minky, stop it, oh my God. With the collaboration with the researchers involved, or rather their sons, author Luc Burgin, Burgin, has for the first time now disclosed in detail how the principle of this revolutionary bioexperiment works. Nevertheless, many scientists who think along conventional lines may remain skeptical about this inexplicable biological effect. But now, for the first time, renowned German expert botanists such as Professor Edgar Wagner of the University of Freiburg and Professor Günter Roth from the University of Mainz, Mainz, make positive statements about it in the book. Roth even had replicated the CIBA experiments in detail at his university in 2001 and was successful. And also, for the first time, even a Nobel laureate, the world-famous Swiss microbiologist Werner Arber, is taking up the cudgels, Cudgels, for this controversial discovery. Back then, Arber had given an expert opinion on the CIBA experiment, CIBA, in person in the laboratory. The professor said to the author, "I was impressed." Okay, so here's what he was thinking, too, when he discovered this. Can the global food problem at last be solved without using genetic engineering? Well, that's why the Swiss company didn't continue to back it, because they'd already invested in the chemicals. Nice to know we're not the only country that's run by madmen. Dr. Guido Ebner and Heinz Schurch exposed cereal seeds and fish eggs to an electrostatic field. In other words, to high voltage field, right? Okay, so let's get to what some of the things happened here. In the case, geoengineering mutating the seed, electrostatic enhancement, the seed remembers what it was. So, in the case of our manipulated wheat growth was so rapid that it was ripe in 4 weeks instead of the usual 7 months. Heinz Schurch recalled, however, one has to say that although the ears and stalks were somewhat smaller, there were more ears per plant. The actual benefit is that we could cultivate this wheat in regions where spring and summer are short, where conventional wheat cannot be grown at all. In this case, one can also cheerfully refrain from using pesticides and herbicides. The pests that have adapted to the growth process of normal wheat have not yet developed when we harvest our wheat as early as 4 to 8 weeks after planting. So they're hardier. Okay, they did more, the trout. So in petri dishes, artificial soil and water was tested together with maize kernels, which were then placed in an electrostatic field. Static electric fields, stress fields in which no current flows. There exists a DC voltage up to several thousand volts depending on the experimental arrangement. What alchemists dreamed before several hundreds of years, actually, the general doctrine is to spite. I have no idea what they meant by that. Never mind. Let's move on. So I'm talking about the corn again. The corn remembers how it was. No genetic engineering, no use of chemicals. It remembers. That ties into Rupert Sheldrake. Rupert Sheldrake said, yeah, well, the DNA probably, for example, tells the ostrich egg that it's an ostrich egg, but maybe an ostrich egg is an ostrich egg because it remembers to be an ostrich egg. Maybe the DNA is all about memory. Because the findings show it's possible without chemistry, at least in many areas. Okay, going on and on and on. I love the one about the trout. That's where I'm trying to get to. Oh yeah, here's the one about the trout. Trout emerged from the experiments with the static electrical fields. Now they are 1/3 larger, heavier, fleshier, stronger. You have more and stronger teeth, are remarkably strong, and strong colors. In adult males of the lower jaw, as in wild salmon, is at the front is formed into a powerful hook. The investigative body of the fish Confederation in Bernay described the animals as an archetype of the trout, which was about 150 years ago practically extinct. There is no scientific explanation. It is not until today. Neither the trout, even plants, also a scientific sensation. This is, I can tell, translated from another language, so it's a little bit wonky. The first thing they noticed that it was significantly higher hatching rates, which often occurred, an increase of 100 to 300%. Pretty cool stuff. I know for me, because I read a lot of this kind of thing, like we've been reading Walter Russell, Catherine, my friend Catherine, and Gretchen and I, because it's impossible to get through on your own. But we've been it's not impossible. It's a difficult read. But when you read Walter Russell, you read Sheldrake, or you read Steiner, or any of those guys. This is where they're at. Oh, and Jill Purce. Please look her up. Purce. Amazing. She's married to Rupert Sheldrake. So Rupert Sheldrake, I've talked about this before. He has a great book called 7 Experiments That Could Change the World. Let me see if I have this book, because this is the next book we're going to read. 7 Experiments That Can Change the World. A do-it-yourself guide to revolutionary science. So through animal behavior, he's kind of making his point about morphogenic fields. And then his wife, Jill Purce, she does ancestral work where she says the ancestors are right here, right now, and they just are waiting for us to remember them, and we can work with them. So I've been doing that now for about 2 to 3 weeks, and it's been very powerful. And I am going to load up a video after this one to show what happened in my room after doing it. It's pretty impressive. Excuse me. So Sheldrake also did the experiment with the psychic parrot Alex. And Alex is a parrot from the West Coast, an African gray. His owner taught him like 1,500 words. He had this incredible vocabulary, so it was really easy to communicate. But anyway, she had written to Rupert Sheldrake because the bird was beginning to tell her what she had dreamt the night before. So there we go in our morphogenic fields, right? And so so he thought, great. So he ran an experiment. He flew out to her. He set up a camera upstairs with the parrot, a camera downstairs with her. He had a timer running on both, so you could see it was happening consecutively, and then showed her flashcards. So like he would show her a flashcard of a dog hanging out the window, and the parrot upstairs would go, look at the doggy, look at the dog. It's pretty knockout, let me tell you. It's pretty impressive. So, yeah, you watch that and you go, God, I mean, what else don't we know, right? So that's a great one. And also, I got really strung out on reading these books that had to do with seeds being charged. And it was a professor from Harvard that he was really interested in the Indians' burial mounds, and he found that a lot of these mounds may not have been burial mounds, but what they found seeds like in like little, that were wrapped and like in little bowls and stuff. And so he got to thinking and started to put seeds on these mounds, and when he would take them back to the lab, they were growing vegetables that were 5 times as large, and these are seeds from now, and seeds that he found that were more ancient, but so there was something in that field that was triggering a memory or reminding them or whatever, to be different, to be healthier, to be larger, to produce more. So, I mean, we keep dancing around it, but it's real and it's exciting. It's really exciting. So anyways, I hope you found that was all really, really interesting, because I do. And yeah, so anything else I need to tell you right now? No, I should probably tell you what day it is. Saturday, December 3rd, something like that. Okay. All right, you guys. Radical Gardener, from my garden to yours. May your garden always grow. Okay, sending you a ton of love. Goodbye.